A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a shocking turn of events, the United States has announced a halt on some critical weapons shipments to Ukraine, including potentially the vital Patriot air defense systems. This decision has sent shockwaves through Kyiv, where officials warned that it could severely weaken their ability to defend against the increasing intensity of Russian airstrikes and battlefield advances. The announcement, made by the White House, caught Ukrainian officials off guard, prompting an urgent appeal for clarity from Washington. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry, which heavily relies on U.S. military support, stated that they had not received any prior notification regarding this reduction in aid. Moscow has seized upon this development, suggesting that it could lead to an end to the ongoing conflict. The Kremlin spokesperson stated that fewer weapons supplied to Ukraine would bring the military operation closer to its conclusion. The fear in Kyiv is palpable, as any slowdown in U.S. support could leave the nation more vulnerable to escalating Russian attacks. President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the nation, emphasizing the importance of continued American support for Ukraine's defense and the shared interests of both nations. The Patriot missile system has become a critical asset for Ukraine, and experts warn that losing access to it would have dire consequences. Mikhaila Samis, a researcher and director at the New Geopolitics Research Network in Kyiv, stated that without the Patriots, Russian missiles would wreak havoc on Ukrainian cities. Local residents echoed these concerns, expressing their fears about the rising frequency of drone and missile attacks. The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry took the unusual step of summoning the deputy chief of mission at the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv, signaling the seriousness of the situation. Reports indicate that the halted shipments include not only the Patriot missiles but also precision artillery and Hellfire missiles. The White House characterized the decision as part of a review of military support and assistance to various countries. Under the Biden administration, U.S. support for Ukraine had surged, with Congress approving over $100 billion in aid, including roughly $43 billion in weaponry. However, the recent shift in policy raises questions about the future of U.S.-Ukraine relations, especially with Donald Trump back in the White House, who has previously criticized the extensive military aid provided to Ukraine. Trump has sought to push for peace talks, including discussions with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who has remained steadfast in his demands for territorial concessions from Ukraine. The current situation has left Kyiv in a precarious position, as military officials acknowledge their serious dependence on U.S. arms supplies. While European allies are doing their best to support Ukraine, the lack of American ammunition could prove detrimental. A report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies highlighted that Europe has made limited progress in bolstering its defense industries, making continued U.S. aid crucial for Ukraine's long-term effectiveness on the battlefield. The Kremlin's response to the U.S. decision has been one of triumph, with officials asserting that reduced weapon deliveries would aid in concluding the conflict. However, the reality on the ground in Ukraine is one of increasing danger. In recent weeks, Russia has ramped up its attacks, launching nearly double the number of missiles and over 30% more drones than in the previous month. The toll has been devastating, with multiple fatal attacks resulting in significant civilian casualties. Residents of Kyiv, who had come to view the U.S. as a bastion of support for democracy, are now left grappling with uncertainty. Igor Stambul, a local resident, expressed his hope that the U.S. would remember its values and continue to stand by Ukraine. As the situation unfolds, the international community watches closely, aware that the implications of this decision could reverberate far beyond the borders of Ukraine. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.